You're watching Mick and T's Sports Report on CHCO Television. And now, here's two guys whose reggae version of O Canada topped the charts back in the early 90s, Evan and Joe.
I'm Joe Ticotsky down in New Haven, Connecticut.
And I'm Evan McFarlane here in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, where it is actually starting to feel like the end of fall.
And this is season 3, episode 3, and our 28th episode overall of Mick and T Sports Report here on CHCO-TV. As Amelia Welch mentioned in the opening intro, our reggae version of O Canada did indeed top the pop charts back in the early 90s. And it was.
If you think that was great, you should have seen Joe's dreadlocks.
It was amazing how we got Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley to do background vocals.
Yep.
But before we get to a Halloween recap, we both need to, in honor of David Letterman, we have to button up our second buttons for the winter here. You've got a zipper, so you'll go zipper. There you go. It's getting a little cold. I'll get that second button up. And now for Halloween, we dug up a nice, we had our background people looking for a picture of Evan, and there he is. Evan dressed as me.
It's too bad we couldn't get that Yale hat in there because that just topped it off.
He was wearing a Yale hat on there, and yeah, that was a very nice job by Evan.
I could see smells with your glasses. Those things are so strong.
And then Evan mentioned on the last thing, the Wonder Bar was his favorite candy. So while I was up on my recent trip to Canada, thanks to Sherry Reed, she gave me a Wonder Bar. So I'm going to take a quick bite on check with my diabetic doctor, and he said 1 bite only.
If you listen closely, you can hear your insulin meter getting louder.
That is good.
Oh, it's the best. Not even comparable. Well, that and a peanut butter cup, they could have a really good fist fight.
I got to get a drink of water.
Make sure your teeth stay in.
It is water. I was up in Canada recently for a wedding, and I got to have a nice dinner with Evan. And sure enough, Evan, you know what happens every time I hit the border.
Yep.
There's
never fails.
Always a story. So my border guard has me get out of the car, and as he's rifling through the back seat, he sees a piece of paper that had notes from our last episode on it. So he asks what the show's about, and I tell him it's a community TV sports show. And then he starts reading the notes out loud to his partner. Small town spotlight with mayor of Inuvik, music spotlight, TV quiz. And he says, this has nothing about sports in it. And as I try to explain, he then turns to his partner and says, hey, Doug, check this out. Halloween costumes. Joe, I'm going as Anne of Green Gables. That's when I started getting a little bit nervous. So I'm turning redder than the Canadian flag at this point. And then the guard just kindly turns to me and says, sir, I suggest next time you cross the border that you keep any notes about your little TV show to yourself. So there's always something. Okay, let's go with TV quiz, and I've got a song. I'll start with the song and see if that'll help you out, and then I'll show the picture if I can pop it up on here. Let's see. Tony Randall on the right, Jack Plugin on the left.
As I usually do, I recognize both people and the song, but I could not say the name of the show for the life of me.
It is The Odd Couple.
Yeah,
70 to 75.
Man, like you're 15 years ahead of my ability to watch television. It's not going to happen.
Those that remember, Tony was Felix Unger and Jack was Oscar Madison, but I promise I'll give you an easy one next time.
Say that every time. This is getting embarrassing.
Let's go to music spotlight. Who do you have?
Yeah, seen this guy once in two different bands, but his stuff by himself as City and Color, Dallas Green from Ontario. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. He's been around for a while, but man, that guy's got some pipes. He's great. One of my favorites.
This is called Lover Come Back. And he was named after his first name, Dallas Green, not the old Phillies manager.
Bound for trouble from the start. I've been walking through this old world in the dark. All alone.
All right. That was City and Color. And I've got an interesting group. Since our small town spotlight will be in Nova Scotia, this group is called Tunes, Tuns. You ever heard of them?
No.
It stands for Technical University of Nova Scotia, which is now, I read up, it's now a part of Dalhousie. It used to be a school on its own, and they're sort of, one guy is from that band Sloan, and they're sort of like an indie super group. So they're called Tunes, Tuns, and this song is called My Memories. If we ever get to the vocal part, here it comes. Good vocals.
Yeah.
All right, that's Tunes.
I'll check them out. I was a big Sloan fan, so.
That is good. Good stuff. Coming up next, we will interview the longtime pitching coach of the Toronto Blue Jays. You're watching Mick and T Sports Report from the 506 on CHCO-TV in St. Andrews, New Brunswick. Welcome back to Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. Our first guest has been the pitching coach of the Toronto Blue Jays for the past decade, the second longest tenure in club history. He also pitched for parts of 8 seasons in the major leagues and is currently known by some as the Pitcher Whisperer. Saw that online. Let's welcome Pete Walker to the show. Welcome, Pete.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. And I don't really know about that pitching whisperer thing. It's a little overdone, but I'm excited to be here with you guys.
I think you should own it. Own it.
Give us your thought on the recently completed World Series. If someone had told you in August that the Atlanta Braves are going to be world champs, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a surprise. I mean, they really came together. They made some good deals. To be honest with you, they brought in a few productive players down the stretch, and especially in the postseason. Rosario and Soler especially. But they were a surprise. I mean, I think this season it was there for the taking for a number of teams, to be honest with you. And I think Atlanta got hot at the right time. They took advantage of some timely hitting and pitching, and they kind of pieced it together to get it done. So you got to give them a lot of credit. I was real excited for them, to be honest with you. I have a few friends over there. Sal Fasano, I coached with for a long time. And he was one of my, pretty much, we lived together coming up as minor league coaches for a few years, and especially during spring training. Even my first couple of years in the big leagues as a big league pitching coach. So we're pretty close. And Kevin Seitz, who was a former staff member with the Blue Jays, and George Poulos and Mike Frostad down there. So I was excited for those guys. I think they put a lot of work in, and anytime you see friends, with an opportunity to be in the World Series and win it all, it was pretty awesome. So I felt if it wasn't going to be us, I was glad it was them.
Good. Evan.
Yeah, I guess a question surrounding the use of analytics and teams using the opener. How has that changed your job as a pitching coach over the past few years?
I think it definitely has changed it. I think it's like in any business, you have to evolve, right? I think initially when I came into the position, in even coaching in 2010, 11, 12, and then obviously in the big leagues, it was more of an old school approach. Analytics were just being introduced, and I think over time we've evolved, and you learn that, hey, your objective opinion isn't always as accurate as you think, and even though your eyes don't lie sometimes, to be able to subjectively look at things and dig up numbers and find different areas, maybe someone's struggling, or someone actually it's a strength of theirs, and to maybe maximize that strength based on analytics, things that we look for, whether it's pitch percentages and ability to get guys out with a fastball in certain parts of the zone, or maybe utilizing their breaking ball a little bit more, or their off speed stuff more, and maybe just pitching differently. So it has helped. We have a great analytics group in Toronto. Our pitching department's outstanding. Matt Bushman, and the analytics guys that we work with on a daily basis are awesome. Matt's my bullpen coach, but he's like the director of pitching in the organization and handles a lot of the minor league stuff as well. So we work hand in hand, and the group has been really strong. So over time, it's definitely changed. And, I think it's like everything else. It can be too much at times. And, it's one of those things where I think one thing I've been able to do, and Matt and our front office, we blended it. We all have discussions, but it's not like it's an end all, where we're going to strictly just go by the numbers and that's it. Because you got to have feel, you got to be able to understand what the numbers mean. And then you got to understand the individual and, the human component. And that's something I think we have not forgotten. And I think, that's why recently we've been fairly successful in that area. We haven't won a World Series, but I think we're headed in the right direction, and our pitching especially seems to be really coming together.
Pete, how about give us a current MLB pitcher that you play against and you sit there and go, dear God, I'm so happy I don't have to hit against that guy.
Current, I think Scherzer's one of those guys. I think you watch him pitch, and I could name some of our own guys for sure. Robbie Ray and Alec Manoah and Jose Barrios, and Jordan Romano. But I think the opposing team, when you get to watch a guy like Max Scherzer work, watch him on TV. He's fun to watch. He's an animal on the mound. He's a competitor. He's coming at you. He has such a good idea of what he wants to do, and he knows himself to a T. I think that's the biggest thing. When you look at some of the best pitchers in baseball, they know exactly who they are. They know how they want to attack hitters. They rarely deviate from that. And they go out there with a good game plan, and he is just fun to watch. He's got power. He can locate, and he can pitch. And I think it's a lost art today. When you look at Major League Baseball, and you look at, I think years past, there were more pitchers back then. Now we have a lot of guys that throw. They throw hard. They throw 95 to 100 miles an hour, and they throw to an area where the days of watching Greg Maddux pitch and guys like that, Glavine and even Smoltz, I think of the Brave starters in that era. They could paint with great stuff, and I think that's something I'd love to see come back a little bit more, because we're so caught up in velocity and throwing harder and harder and harder, getting the art of pitching back. And I think you don't see it as much, and when you do see it, you appreciate it.
Good. All right, Pete, we'll get you out with some what we call rapid fire questions, sort of some non-baseball stuff. Your favorite Toronto restaurant?
Ooh, I'd have to say the Barbarian or Barbarians, because they actually cater us a lot. We get a lot of their food, but I've been there a few different times, and their food's fantastic. So that would be a steakhouse, beautiful steakhouse with tremendous food. So that would be my number one. Okay.
Favorite road stadium?
Favorite road stadium? I would, a lot of guys probably wouldn't pick it because it's not really a pitcher's park, but Camden Yards. I think it's beautiful. I love the brick. Going there is fun. I like the harbor front downtown, down along the water, but the stadium itself is beautiful. So Safeco would be number two, out in Seattle.
Okay. Your favorite major leaguer when you were growing up?
That's a really good one, because I've been asked that a number of times, or who is my hero? And it's, it's not a Major League Baseball player. It's Larry Bird.
Really?
I was a huge basketball fan, and the Celtics, and he was probably my idol growing up. I wouldn't miss a game. And, it's funny. I think I still carry the competitiveness, and watching him, the way he played basketball, I think just was something that I love to watch. And it kind of, I tried to, take in some of those traits that he had. And, I think it helped me in baseball as a kid and growing up and being so competitive and being a team player and trying to get everybody involved. And I thought he was great at that. Interesting answer, I'm sure, but baseball, the only guy I really think of watching a lot back that was Nolan Ryan. Maybe he was one of the guys that I would love to watch.
Okay. I remember him when he was back on struggling on the Mets before he made his way around the majors and did his damage elsewhere.
Yep.
Last question.
Yep.
Have you learned all the words to "O Canada"?
I have. I think if I didn't, I'd be in big trouble. I've probably heard that anthem more than anybody, to be honest with you. That's been in baseball. It's like I said, I played up there for 5 different parts of 5 seasons, and I've been coaching there in the major leagues this will be my 10th. So if you added up all the games and the amount of anthems I've heard, it'd probably be a crime if I didn't know every word.
Good stuff. He is Toronto Blue Jays pitching coach Pete Walker, and next year we'll have him back on the show right after the World Series parade rolls through downtown Toronto. No excuses, Pete.
Yeah.
If the damn Braves can win the World Series, then the Jays. It's the Jays.
It's our year.
Sounds good. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me. Great talking to you guys.
After the break, Small Town Spotlight heads out to Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia to talk with someone who is an expert in the world of Celtic music. You're watching Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV in St. Andrews. It's time for another edition of Small Town Spotlight here on CHCO-TV. Since CHCO is available on Bell Satellite throughout Canada, you can watch our show on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights if you live in Leaf Rapids, Manitoba, St. Louis, Prince Edward Island, or Cambridge Narrows in New Brunswick. And as always, you can watch the show on CHCO-TV's YouTube channel. For our 20th edition of Small Town Spotlight, we head to the village of Judique in Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia. With a population of 307, it's located on Canada's musical coast and is home to the world-famous Celtic Music Interpretive Centre. To tell us more, let's welcome in Allan Dewar, Music Director and Head of Operations at the Celtic Music Interpretive Centre. Allan, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
Tell us a bit about how Gaelic culture and Celtic music have become connected to Cape Breton.
It's kind of a bit of history, I guess. Essentially, for anybody that is familiar with the Highland clearances in the Highlands of Scotland, there was basically a British invasion in the mid-1700s. To reclaim some of the land. So many of the people there were displaced. So by the nature of that happening, many people have kind of taken to the boats and came across the water. And there was a large pocket of Scottish settlers came to Nova Scotia mid-1700s, and many of them settled along the shores of Cape Breton Island. So when you look at the Scottish culture in general, there is a little difference in what it would be today versus back then, because many of them were Gaelic speakers and the culture and the language are very closely connected. So by the nature of them being very social people, they were very capable of being able to continue on their culture these many hundreds of years later.
Great. Now, your center opened in 1999. You've been there since 2009. Give us a brief overview of the center and what its mission is.
Well, the Celtic Music Centre was incorporated in 1999. They ran out of an office and a space at the community center next door to where we currently are now. In 2006, this current building opened. The mission statement is to collect, promote, and preserve the traditional Celtic music of Cape Breton Island through education, research, and performance. So by the virtue of that kind of a broad statement, we aren't just something for the community of Judique, but for all of the island of Cape Breton. We are the official cultural archives of Inverness County, and we were designated in the Nova Scotia legislature as being the official Celtic Music Centre of Nova Scotia.
Okay. Tell us a bit more. I see you have youth music programs and camps that you offer.
Yes, part of that mission statement is to educate and to preserve. So we do our best to be able to bring some of the grassroots back into the culture. So when we go for any of our educational experiences, we do target youth to get them exposed to it. This day and age, it is a different experience for people versus like when I grew up. It was part of your daily life, and now there's a little bit more activity with the internet, and sports are a little more prevalent here than they used to be. And we do a number of different workshops and educational lessons throughout the year in a normal time. And during the Celtic Colors International Festival, which is held each year in October during our Thanksgiving period, so ballpark second week to the third week second week to the third week of October, we will host a fiddle camp, and we have people come from all over the world to experience our local instructors. So we'll have 10 fiddle instructors over the 5 days, so you get 2 per day. And the purpose of that is because this style of music that is played on the fiddle in this area is a solo tradition, and it's very unique in its approach because it's non-competitive. So people all have their own individual input and flavor in their playing. So you will get a little different lesson from every person. There's not any hard, fast rules on the broad scope of the culture and the music.
Okay. Now, explain to our viewers who may not know exactly what a ceilidh is. It's spelled Ceilidh. What's a ceilidh?
Literally, it means a visitor gathering. It's a Scottish Gaelic word. So visitor gathering can kind of cover the scope of a lot of things. In the general public view in this area, it usually means some sort of an official event that will be accompanied by music, and in a lot of cases, food and dancing as well. So we hold ceilidhs here, and they're usually just a word used to say we're having a live music event. But a ceilidh can mean you going to visit your neighbor and sitting down and telling some stories and just visiting with them and having a cup of tea. It can be very informal as well.
Okay, so would that be an example right there, that picture of one of the performances there?
Very much so, yes. We hold ceilidhs every week throughout the year. So we are a seasonal operation because we're tied into the tourism season as well. But we are also a community-based venture. So we hold Sunday ceilidhs all year long. And we're just able to, in this phase 5, entering in October of the COVID protocols, that we're able to reintroduce dancing again. So people are very excited that they can do some square dancing on Sunday. But then we also do them during a lunch hour during our season as well. And people just come into our restaurant, sit down and have their food and drink, and they can just listen to some live music.
Okay, all right, we'll get you out on this. You play piano and are an accompanist. Who have been one or two of your favorite musicians to play with, and maybe names that we may not be familiar with?
See, that's a big question because, like I said earlier, this is a solo tradition in the fiddle world, so we aren't really grouped together in bands. So I've played with pretty near everybody locally that plays publicly. If I was to pick a name that you are most familiar with, would be Jerry Holland. I toured with him and recorded with him over many of his albums in later years. He passed away in 2009, actually. But if I was to pick somebody you didn't know, it would be Shelley Campbell. Shelley was actually the fiddler, I think, that you had in that picture of the ceilidh. She's my girlfriend, and she's one of the strongest dance players we have in this area. very big following, very solid player, and she has Gaelic language. She's a school teacher. She teaches Gaelic in the school as well. So somebody that lives and breathes the culture. Shelley
Yeah.
King.
That's great. That's great. Well, the Celtic Music Interpretive Centre has live music daily from mid-June to mid-October and is also home to the Cayley Pub, which I saw serves up a traditional Cape Breton chowder with local lobster, scallops, shrimp, and haddock. You can find out more by going online to CelticMusicCenter.com. They also have a great Facebook page as well as entertaining Twitter and Instagram accounts. And Allan, as I tell all of our small town spotlight guests, if you and your girlfriend ever make it down to Boston or New York, stop halfway between in good old Connecticut. And while I won't be able to find you a good Cayley around here, I can definitely direct you to some of New Haven's world famous thin crust pizza.
Sounds like a good idea. We could create a Cayley just by the nature of us showing up. Thanks for the invitation.
There you go. He is Allan Dewar, head of the Celtic Music Interpretive Centre in Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia. Allan, thanks so much for being on the show.
Very much appreciated on our end. This is a big help in getting our word out to the world that we would love to see you come visit us.
Oh, that was something. That was awesome. I enjoyed both of those. Joe, tradition starts here. I think that's alluding to the fact that your 60th birthday is coming right around the corner, and the tradition is going to be the senior discount at the grocery store.
Hey, you weren't supposed to let that cat out of the bag, but yes, coming up right around when this show will be aired. Oh God, 60 years old. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It is what it is. Let's go right to the shout outs. I will give a shout out to Megan Cross and her husband, Duncan Briggs, on their recent wedding, which I attended up in Gemseg. Great day. And it was just fantastic. Nice wedding. Who do you have?
Cool. I'm going to go with another local as well. Used to be a basketball player of mine, Elias Eldridge, who has started his own Raptors podcast with his friends at university called Raps Chat. So I encourage everybody to check that out.
Okay, Raps Chat. Well, yeah, maybe I'll have you on as a guest.
Well, that's what we're working on. I got to make it to their level first, so we need to keep our ratings really high.
Good stuff. Well, that is it for episode 28 here at Mick and T Sports Report. Happy upcoming Thanksgiving to our American viewers. I'm Joe in New Haven.
And I'm Evan here in New Brunswick.
Thanks to CHCO-TV station manager Patrick Watt and editor Florence Margaret Mitchell. Margaret was the author of Gone with the Wind, Margaret Mitchell. Patrick and Florence do the thankless job of producing and editing a show that's pretty much known as the Squid Game of community TV in Canada. Yeah, that's what the kids are telling me. And now that we've once again come to the end of another show, that means it's time for our closing catchphrase. So to remind me of why I have all this gray hair, let's go with peace, love, and 60. This is Mick and T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. We'll see you next time.